Hi, security risk assessors, security risk managers, and security risk analysts. I'm Mike Evans with this week's episode of No Risk, coming to you live from the Gold Coast. Well, basically, this is the program where we look back over the past week of security risk analysis and security risk management of what's been going on in Australia. So let's have a look at our platform qualification first. So security risk analysis is about the protection of assets or critical infrastructure or a business or stock or people. It could be a whole different range of things. And we are looking at what's happened over the past week in Australia with security risk analysis. Last week, Jason Fullerton told us that he has heard from the police in New South Wales due to the limitations on the importation of methamphetamine and cocaine, that the price has gone up and that there are going to be increased risks to business who hold cash. So people stealing internally or people robbing businesses, that sort of thing. So I went out and had a look on the weekend at three of the biggest retailers in Australia, and I looked at see if they knew about this and what they were doing. And I noticed that every single one of those three biggest retailers in Australia had a security guard in uniform at the entry point, exit point to that retail shop. Now, these are really enormous operations, so they're very aware in their communications with local law enforcement that they are going to be vulnerable now to people doing walkouts with high value stock, people stealing stock, shop theft, that sort of retail theft, retail stealing, and people going into refund scams. So there's soft options where people who are addicted to methamphetamine or cocaine will go first to see if they can get soft options. Therefore, they don't have to pull a gun and rob a bank and look at a long term in prison, that sort of thing. So there's an increase out there in the level of security risk management as a result of the shortage of drugs and the high prices. So that's something that was identified by Jason last week. In doing that, we also talked about badges and security badges, that sort of thing. And I mentioned that I was once tempted to pull a security badge in a retail setting where I was just a visitor and a person came in and smashed all the stuff off the shelf. Well, over in England this week, this happened in an Audi store. So this lady's gone into Audi, she's walked along the aisle and she's smashed all those bottles of wine. Now, I don't know what she's upset about. There was no real explanation. She was arrested shortly afterwards, but she's gone into Audi and she's done exactly what I said in my example from last week, which I wasn't trying to forecast and encourage people to do that. But this happened over in Great Britain since we spoke about that last week in this program. So that was something that came up. During our research this week, we've noticed there's been a really great publication that's been put out for security risk assessors, security risk managers, and emergency response managers. And it's this one, it's the Australian Disaster Resilience Handbook Collection. Now, this is free, and you, as a security risk analyzer or manager or whatever, can go to this website that you see on your screen. So Australian Disaster Resilience. If you can't remember that, you can just replay this presentation. So it's a 30-minute presentation, and we are currently some 5 minutes, 15 seconds into it. And that's where you'll see the Australian Disaster Resilience Knowledge Hub website. Now, Google that and you will get all sorts of resources for handling disasters and examples of how other places such as the Logan City Council and several others have prepared for disaster management. Now, that could be fires, floods, pandemics. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a whole range of resources at this website to help you as a risk manager, as a risk assessor, moving forward in relation to these things. And you can incorporate these into your security risk management plans if you live on a floodplain, or some of the things may affect the assets of the clients that you work for. So that is a really good resource, the Australian Disaster Resilience Knowledge Hub, totally free. You do not have to pay for it. You can just download their resources. They're there for you to use in your security risk analysis work. Around the country this week, in Victoria, the Environmental Protection Agency have fined a Sunshine West company for dumping contaminated soil in a subdivision development at Dalesford. Now, Dalesford is known throughout the world for its hot springs and its healing properties, and we've had this organisation go around dumping contaminated soil in the area. As soon as it rains, some of that contamination will run off and it'll go into the local waterways or streams or aqua system. It'll affect the platypuses, it'll affect the marine life. So EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, have done the right thing and they've fined them. They've found out that which company was dumping this from a service station that was being renovated. And even though they may have had the landowner's permission to dump it there, you can't do that. So the Environmental Protection Agency have had a win there. The Environmental Protection Agency are prolifically using drones in their enforcement and compliance work. So they follow people who are, taking asbestos or other contamination from building sites, and they're dumping it in quarries, that sort of thing. Now, these areas may have locked gates. So after they go in, they lock the gate after them, or they may have dubious security on those gates. It's private property. So the Environmental Protection Agency can't follow them through that gate. But what they do is they follow them from the building site, the demolition site, and they follow them to the area where they disappear onto the private property, and they use drones to film them after that, where they go in and dump it. They even have drones that can actually calculate the cubic meterage of what was dumped, land on top of it, and take a sample of it so they know what's being dumped. So that technology is amazing that they're using at the Environmental Protection Agency. It's a global thing. If you want to get rid of contaminated waste, you get the mafia to do it for you. They're quite happy to go and dump it anywhere or bury it anywhere. They're actually being forced to take it out to sea now because the Environmental Protection Agency actually have ground penetrating radar that can identify drums of contaminated waste that have been buried in the ground by people who dispose of contaminated waste illegally. So that's a really good win, really good work by the Environmental Protection Agency down in Victoria. In Queensland, on the Gold Coast, a couple of people, a prominent Gold Coast lawyer and his girlfriend, have been charged with money laundering. Now, this is the third Gold Coast lawyer this year. This is Operation Jackal. There was another one from Operation Mercury. Then there was another operation I've forgotten the name of. That's 3 Gold Coast lawyers who have been money laundering on behalf of criminal organisations or charged with it. Now, in this case, the Criminal Conduct Commission of Queensland have charged them, and they are seriously concerned about this type of activity where the actual lawyers who work in the legal system are money laundering on behalf of clients. They don't like that at the Criminal Conduct Commission, and they investigate that quite thoroughly. So they're following through with that and charging the Gold Coast lawyer. 3 in a year is amazing. That's an amazing temptation for the lawyers to be involved in. Further this week in Queensland, another one, Mike Gore. This is a governance and compliance one from at ASIC level, basically, he's been sentenced to 2 years in jail for fraud. Well, actually, he was sentenced to 5 years in jail for fraud, but he's only going to serve 2 years. He's appealed that decision, and he's going to wait on that appeal. He said that the judge was erroneous in what happened. So that's one to watch for governance and compliance in relation to fraud control for those of you that are active in that area. And it's one of the most important areas of risk is that governance and compliance. And his duties as the director of a company, he took money, they reckon, and he spent that money on personal stuff. And the people who were promised an 8.75% investment return, they never received their money. They never got a refund or anything like that. So 2 years in prison he has to serve, and 5 years he was sentenced to. That's on the Gold Coast this week for basically, I guess that's misconduct as a director of a company. Furthermore, it's been very active on the Gold Coast this week. If you're dealing with criminals like the police do in their activities, don't always assume that you're dealing with the most intelligent people out there. Here the crims got it wrong and they kidnapped the wrong man. So basically it was a case of mistaken identity. They kidnapped a man from a hotel manager on the Gold Coast, and they forced him to withdraw money from various ATMs on their travels between the Gold Coast and up to Brisbane. And one of them was caught. Basically, they've stolen $15,808 out of his bank accounts, and one of them's been caught doing it. So kidnapping, as you heard, we talked about it, how people are going to come up with ideas to get money because of the increase in the price of cocaine and the increase in the price of methamphetamine. Expect kidnapping to be part of your security risk assessment if you're involved with clients who operate in heavy cash systems where cash is available. Now, this was robbery and mistaken identity, not really clever people. And the man pictured they wouldn't bail him, they wouldn't let him go. He was too high a flight risk, according to the magistrate. Another thing that's happened in Queensland, a prostitution ring has been busted. Now, this is a sexual servitude prostitution ring. This is one of Australia's largest problems, and various jurisdictions have various different ways of dealing with it. In some jurisdictions, it's the police responsibility. In New South Wales, it's the local council responsibility. So here, this has happened in Queensland. And basically, they have had a dob-in from neighbours that there has been an illegal brothel being operated, and it was raided by the police, and they seized mobile phones, computer equipment, $46,785 in cash. Now, that's Queensland. Now, what if you are working for the council and you have an illegal brothel going on in your local council area in New South Wales? This is your problem. Now, the way they handle that, it's quite clever. Basically, they use people within the organisation and engage people who can read the advertisements in the various ethnic newspapers where they see it. That's where they identify the locations, and they can identify if that place is a registered brothel or not, if it's an approved one and everybody's working legally, or it's an illegal one. So what they do is they then go and raid that brothel as the local council. So they get out a search warrant and get out a warrant, and they go and raid the brothel. Now, they don't raid the brothel on Tuesday afternoon. There's no sense there. It's probably not going to have a lot of customers. But when they raid it on Friday evening at around about 6 p.m. and they close it down Friday, Saturday and Sunday until that place is operating legally, has the licenses, that sort of thing, gets all that, they've missed out on quite a bit of income over that time if they can become licensed in that time. So they close them down because they're an illegal operation. They take the police with them, that the council do, and they take the fire brigade with them. Why do they take the fire brigade? Well, they take the fire brigade so they can identify it's a crowded place. If it's a fire risk, that means they could shut that place down for a month. So the fire is there, identify, do a risk assessment and identify the, what they've got as far as fire retardation risk management there in the form of evacuation doors, whether they're clear, that sort of thing, how people can get out of that crowded building in an emergency. So the fire brigade have a role to play in that as well. So it's a collaboration between the council, the police and the fire brigade to ensure that the governance and compliance responsibilities of those that operate legally are maintained and those that operate illegally are shut down. So it's a clever way of doing it. Well done to the local councils in New South Wales out there for thinking. One of the soft ones that people are doing now in relation to trying to rip people off is they are using photographs of puppies and saying, we've got a litter of puppies, for each one's $4,000 each. Would you like to buy one on Facebook and social network and Gumtree, that sort of thing? And people are buying it. And then they hijacked websites or Facebook pages of people that have these, they're not real. So people are parting with their money and they're not getting a dog. So what's happened is we're finding a lot of our surveillance investigators are being engaged to go and check to see if the puppy that's about to be bought is there for real. So they go and knock on the door and speak to the organisation, take a photograph of the actual chosen puppy from the litter on Facebook that are all there separately photographed, that sort of thing. They see it, they film it, they send that back to the person who's going to purchase it, and they make sure that they've got the right thing. So there are a lot of people taking advantage of that, particularly around Christmas time. Beware of that rip-off. Again, remember what Jason said last week. It's the price of the drugs. People are looking for soft options to rip other people off. They don't want to rob a bank. They don't want to go and hold a knife into a service station, that sort of, because they're going to serve a great deal of time. They look at these soft options, and social networking and marketing on Gumtree, that sort of thing, is a very soft option. They won't go to jail for ripping someone off who should have been more aware on social networking. Basically, they'll get a $25 fine and a warning in a court. That's the way it'll go. So they're looking for the soft option rip-offs out there. So keep that in mind, people, when you do it. Now, one of my most frequently asked questions as a security risk manager is, how do I market myself? How do I market my brand out there in the marketplace in Australia so I can establish a security risk management firm? Now, it's not that hard. Today, you don't have to spend a lot of money to make a brand and put yourself out there to be the solution to your clients' problems, whatever keeps them awake at night. So what is a brand? A brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. So you've gone in, you've made your presentation, you've shown them your webpage, you've provided your references, you've shown them your credentials, you've shown the client what you can do, you've put in a proposal. When you leave the room, what they say after that, that is your brand. They will say, oh, well, I trust this person because, or I like this person because, I don't like this person because. So it's very important that you understand you are the brand of your organisation in what you do. So you control it because of the quality of your service, the quality of your products, the value you offer in your solutions, and you fulfill the knowledge, skill, information, training, or attitude gap that has led to your clients' vulnerabilities in risk assessment and the problems that they face in their everyday running of their business. So that's your role, is to fulfill those needs in that area. You must be visible to be seen. So with your brand, you can't just go, oh, well, I'm going to put an ad in the yellow pages. It's one line and it's going to cost $50 to be there for a year now. Everybody's going to love me. And I'm going to put up a sporadic post on Facebook. Here I am. This is what I do. It won't cut it. You must be seen and you must elevate your voice so you can get that brand communication flowing. So to achieve that in a digital competitive environment, there are a thing called the 3 E's. Now, the 3 E's are what are the key to the success of delivering your brand out there to a market that's going to pay for it. And those 3 E's are: you will empower, you will entertain, and you will educate. So when you go on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or Periscope or Twitter or whatever it is, the 3 things that you must be doing are empowerment, entertainment, and education. Now, I'm a member of several industry associations. One of them I have to go to in January every year, and I have to listen to very dry lawyers talking about last year's case law like this, and it goes on from 8:30 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. But they have really nice morning tea and a really great lunch and a really nice afternoon tea. That's absolutely fun to go to, and there's great networking opportunities. So you have to suffer the boring part. Now, those lawyers could make it more empowering, more educational, and more entertaining by, being a little bit less lawyerish and a little bit more relatable in what they do. So you can do that. You don't have to go to and speak at a conference that big with 600 people there like I have to go and watch. I don't speak at it, I go and watch it. But you can blog on your website. You can blog on LinkedIn and write articles on LinkedIn, and you become the expert in your area. Now, that might be transport risk management. It might be retail risk management. It could be building and construction risk management, whatever your thing is. It could be events. So get in there and write about it. Now, once you write it and post it, or you vlog it, whatever you do, you won't instantly get a big audience and clients lining up to buy your stuff. But over time, as you do it consistently, and you add that in with some YouTube videos about what you do and some solutions to people, how to solve the issue of access control on a construction site, or how to solve the issue of shop theft on Friday afternoons, whatever is your thing, and you've got some solutions, you build that brand, and you build it with that education, entertainment, and empowerment. And if you can do that, it doesn't have to be an hour long. It can be 5 minutes long. It can be 3 minutes long. Here's a quick solution to your shop theft issues. That's what you do. So what does it mean when you do that? You speak at events, you write articles, you volunteer, you join an industry association, you network. It means if you're doing that and you get to speak at one of their events because they need speakers, you get 30 to 45 minutes of eyes on you exchange. And that elevates your voice and your visibility. It's not impossible to do. You don't have to be funny. You don't have to be sexy. You don't have to be gorgeous. I mean, hey, take a look at this, right? Okay. You don't have to be any of that. I'm not funny. I'm not sexy. I'm not gorgeous, right? But I get 30 to 45 minutes of eyes on me time, and I elevate my voice in front of people who will buy my products, and I communicate my brand. Now, it has to come from a relatable platform. You can't be boring and drone on and be uninteresting and not educate and not entertain and not empower. I've seen people try to do that this year. They thought they'd get away with it by being boring, and it collapsed after 1 week. So get on there, smile, all right? You're digitally shaking other people's hands. So you've got to be the real you. Be the real you, and you have knowledge and skills in what you do. The other tip I can give you, and this is really important, if you can collaborate with other people in your business and your social networking with what you do, that will really help. Now, people said, go and collaborate, Mike, and it'll grow your business. Now, I thought, well, I can't collaborate with Microsoft or Coca-Cola or BHP. They don't want to know me, right? They're turning over billions a year. They're not interested in me. No, it's not how it works. Collaborate with a person who has a complementary activity to your business down the road or in another state. Collaborate with them. Get on a panel and speak with them on an issue and put it up on YouTube. By doing that, it's eyes on you, it elevates your voice, and it communicates your brand, and it fulfills the 3 E's. You empower, you entertain, and you educate. Now, one of the things I'm constantly asked about is how to get ladies into a program to help you do that. Because there are several successful ladies, there's thousands of successful ladies out there in our industry doing just that. Well, getting that kind of involvement, it's not hard. You just ask them. I have a program of investigation teaching in Victoria. Now, during that 1-week program, 7 different ladies come in and teach in it. Now, you imagine watching me talk like this for 5 days, you want to hang yourself in the first 30 seconds. But these ladies are subject matter experts, and they come into that program and teach in class for me in relation to what happens in that investigation industry in civil investigations. They talk about report writing, surveillance, statement taking, the industry in general, the opportunities, and it's really wonderful to watch. They're all subject matter experts. How do you get those people to come onto your social networking, YouTubes, and your video? Firstly, you ask them, invite them. Now, if they say no, they're just saying no because they don't understand what you do. They don't understand the opportunities. They don't understand that you're empowering, entertaining, and educating your clients. That's all they're saying no to. And they're saying no to it today. They're not saying no to it next week. So simply give them a little bit more of an explanation of what you're doing and invite them to be involved in the future. Now, you're building your capacity, right, to involve people who are subject matter experts, right? And you don't want to be too blokey. You go to a conference and it's all blokes. That's no fun. That's no interest. That's no empowerment. That's no education. There's no entertainment. You need to have that mix there. So if you haven't got subject matter experts, invite people who are emerging to come and talk on your program. Now, they don't have to talk for an hour and a half. It might be your social networking Facebook live stream. It might be your YouTube, educational YouTube that you do. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. They might come on just for 3 minutes and they might speak specifically about digital marketing or specifically about how to do this or specifically about when this happens, here are 3 solutions you can use. So take the emerging ones and give them the opportunity to develop. Short opportunities will be snapped up very quickly. So firstly, ask ladies to come onto your program. Give the emerging ones who are not subject matter experts, like the first ones you asked, more opportunity to get involved and grow. And realize that if they say no, they're just saying no to the time because the time's not compatible. Now, you want it to be safe. You want it to be well lit. You want it to work for ladies so they look appropriate. They want to appear professional, and they will be, okay? So you want them to be there in a safe environment and to be included. Now, the other thing that you can do, if they say no to all that, is you can have a panel. Now, that panel might be 3 ladies. It might be 2 ladies. It might be 1 bloke and 2 ladies. Who cares? It doesn't matter. But in a panel, they don't have to do all the heavy lifting themselves if they're concerned about that. And they can throw them over to the other person like I do with Jason when he's on this program with me. If you've ever noticed and I get a really hard question, I go, oh, Jason will answer that one because I don't know. So in a panel situation, you can do a quick handball or flick pass and that saves you from being embarrassed, that sort of thing. So they are just some of the ways that you can include ladies in your marketing of your brand. And it happens in security risk assessment because you're selling security risk assessment services to people that need it. Okay, so it happens in security risk management. So keep those little tips in mind. Now, just around the employment opportunities in security risk management this week. Here's one where they want to pay you $250,000 to be a general manager of governance and compliance. So this is a great job, and it's through a recruiting agency. And you can go on Seek and you can type in general manager, government and compliance, and you can see there what they're offering as far as the salary goes. This is a very high level position. To hold this, you're going to have an advanced diploma of government investigation or government compliance or something like that. So that's an opportunity in New South Wales, in Sydney. That's a very high level one. Okay, it's not a beginner level. Happens. So you have big opportunities. We're not being elitist about the opportunities. They are across the board opportunities out there. And that's one that's just come up this week. Sorry, that's the same one. So if you're looking for opportunities like that, I have a specific Australian Private Investigator Corporate Government Investigations and Compliance job vacancies page. And if you just go on to Facebook and type in Australian Private Investigator Corporate and Government Investigation jobs and employment vacancies, and you'll see that headline, ask to join the group. It's a private group. It's a safe group. We don't want idiots in there making stupid comments and selling us stuff we don't want. So have a look for it. If you're looking for a job vacancy in security risk assessment, you'll find opportunities there, and up to 2 years of past opportunities so you can see them, so you can do your research about what opportunities are out there in security risk analysis, security risk assessment, and security risk management. So it's not just the $250,000 jobs that are available. There's lots of different other jobs as well. So effectively, what I've tried to communicate today is be aware and take your level of security risk management and awareness up for your clients because of the serious issues with the price of drugs out there, people looking for soft options to steal, rip off, and even pretend to be you and sell your services to people who don't have website checkers, that sort of thing, who might be in a hurry to buy things because it's Christmas, that sort of. So elevate your level of awareness around those vulnerabilities with what you're buying online. Also today, I've communicated how to market your brand, what people say about you when you leave the room, and how to start engaging ladies in the branding and marketing of your business. Now, they don't need me to do that, right? I'm just offering you some different solutions to try and help you include them, because one of the most successful things I've ever done is include those lady teachers in my programs in Victoria, in my programs in New South Wales. In New South Wales, they line up to come and teach in that program. So, but in Victoria, we have a consistent amount of ladies coming every time. Now, it's hard to get them in school holidays. That's a difficulty sometimes if they're mums of high school children, that sort of thing. But work those systems, replay this program, and see how you go and see how successful it can be. That's our week in security risk analysis at no risk for this week. We'll be back, Jason and I, next week, and we'll see you then. I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy.